Hello, hello, my sexies. We have a special guest on today, and it's a man. Wow, I've only
Yes.
had, this is my third male guest. So I'm really excited to have you. I have Christopher Lewis on today, and he is a dating coach, and he has his own podcast called Dating Intelligence, which we are going to be talking about a little bit and kind of talking about a variety of things. So it's going to be fun. But first of all, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, first of all, hello, Tia. Thanks for having me on your show. And by the way, I'm super excited to be your third male guest on the show, which means third time's the charm. So this is going to be a hit, as we know already. So,
Yes.
hi, audience out there. I'm super excited to talk to you guys, and whatever you want to know, just ask away. We're in it together.
Yes, I love that. So, how did you get into doing your podcast around dating?
So my podcast started about 3 years ago, when a friend of mine, I actually, the funny thing is I actually tried to start a book right before COVID time. And so started writing, got 6 chapters in, and I was like, who the hell is going to read this book? No one knows me. So basically I was like, I'm going to start a blog because I'm going to get my audience that way, start a blog.
Mm.
And about, and let me see, about maybe 6 months into the blog, I was actually helping a friend of mine going through some dating problems. And another friend of mine was there, and she's like, damn, Chris, you're really good at this stuff. And I'm like, I know. That's why I have a blog. This is things that I've been doing my whole life. So she goes, we need to do a podcast. And so she became my first co-host for about 4 to 6 months. And she was a Playboy Playmate back in the day. And literally, like, we had like the show that started during COVID, and we started like literally the week later and just started getting right into it. The tops were amazing. And then eventually she got so popular from doing the podcast again that she started doing her own thing. So, and then I
Mm.
actually went on my own for about 2 to 3 months, just bringing in guest hosts like a what is that Kelly Ripa sort of thing on what is it, ABC. So we were
Yeah.
just brought in separate guests and things like that to be my co-host. We'd pick topics to talk about, and then eventually I landed my last co-host, Jamie Villamore, who's now she's been an international model for the past 20 years, I think, and she's just doing amazing. So when she gets the time, she does the show with me, and it's just been an amazing run. It's been great.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So, what's your passion behind dating intelligence?
My passion, that's a good question. My passion behind dating and challenge is to teach. First of all, I'm just an advocate for women. That's how this whole thing started. And I just want to teach guys how to be better for women and how to teach women on how to read the signs of when guys are being idiots, quite frankly. Right.
Okay.
So, as I always say, like, guys, we're all idiots. I'll even put myself in that category, even though I doubt myself as the dating intelligence genius here. But we're all idiots. And so my job is just to teach women the signs of when we're being idiots and how to teach guys, quite frankly, just to be better for women.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's better for men as well. It's a
Yes,
win-win,
it
don't
is.
you
Oh,
agree?
most definitely, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to be a better guy for women, especially when you are just going to be just in these amazing relationships with someone that you actually find, love with or whatever you want to do. So,
Okay. So, yeah, I think it would just be a win-win. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Like last year, I started dating women because I was just so sick of how men treated me and
right.
how I felt kind of discarded or used and abused, not in like a
Hmm.
physical sense, but just not treated well. And I've
Yeah.
gone through periods of time that I went through that type of feeling and had to like really like let go of all of the past, relationships and really like, okay, where do I want to attract at? What do I have to do to
Hmm.
change this? Who's the main ingredient? It was me. So I felt like I had to change.
Okay.
But I love that you are kind of coaching men to be better. So how do we even dive into this? Like, I could say so much, but I guess one thing that I would like to hear is that I struggle with is that men kind of are pushy and they don't notice when they are, but then also
Hmm.
we like a man that leads, but leads with, feeling the energy, getting the
Yeah.
signs first, then leading.
Uh,
And another thing is treating women well after intimacy. So those are two topics that if you
okay.
want to talk about.
Well, let me just start from the beginning. So first of all, so you've gone to women, which is, like that's freaking amazing. See, guys, what you're missing out on, this is a beautiful woman here, and you just drove her away. That's all I have to say. So no, but seriously though, I feel like a lot of guys, which I've been telling a lot of women lately, is that we lead with ego first and foremost. And I feel like
Yes.
sometimes ego is the thing that gets us all in trouble. And another thing that happens is a lot of guys, they preface when they start dating someone, they put out, I call it their what's the word I'm looking for, they're kind of like their security blanket. If something happens, that they can always say, well, I told you so. Like, for instance, I'm going to
Yeah.
say, like, if you meet a guy, the first thing they're going to say is like, well, I'm kind of busy with work. And the second thing is, they'll say, well, they'll make up some excuse, in other words, and not to say that it's a legitimate excuse, but it's this disclaimer that they throw in just in case something down the road happens. They go, hey, look, I told you I was busy with kids,
Yeah.
family, or
Yeah.
like, my work job. I just didn't have enough time anyways. And then as a woman, you guys all sit there and go, you actually take the blame for it and go, well, he did say he was busy with this. I'm like, no, let him be accountable for his own shit,
Hmm.
basically. So, and as far as the other stuff goes, I always want to tell women, for the most part, that what happens is, yes, we all have to be an alpha male leading and things like that, but there's also ways to kind of back off of that a little bit and not be so directional of saying, look, I'm a man, we're supposed to lead, this is the way it is, and allow the women to sometimes just have a little bit of leeway as well. And this is why, for myself, I like to find the yin and yang in a relationship where, yes, I want to have an equal partner. I love dating strong, independent women first and foremost, because I feel like, like there's this push and pull that I like, like, for instance, Tia, your strengths might be my weakness, and my weakness, my strengths might be something vice versa as well. So we're looking for that balance more than anything else, and not just one person always leading the charge and taking control. And that sometimes can lead to failure as well. So,
Yeah.
um, mhm,
There does need to be balance.
yeah,
Because
right.
if the masculine man is always leading and then the woman's maybe too much in her feminine side,
Hmm.
she doesn't have that ability to speak up when there's discourse or like when something needs to be addressed,
That's correct. And
and
sometimes it's a
communicated.
little too late, because at that point you're either really deep into it where you've already created that role for yourself, which I always say, look, once the roles are created, it's very hard to kind of switch those roles up. So what I tell people to do from the beginning is just that communication has to happen from the beginning. First and foremost, it's just like, if you feel like you have something that you need balanced out of that relationship from the beginning, just speak your voice and say it. And
Oh, you're cutting out.
so
Sorry, you just
Oh,
cut
sorry.
out.
So I was gonna say, oh my God. So you want to have that balance between, like, that thing of, like, first of all, just by setting the tone by communication from the beginning. And for the most part, like I said, it's just that thing of putting out there. Like, for instance, if you wanted something out of that relationship, let it known from the beginning. And the biggest thing that I tell people is that person can either say yes or no. They can either agree or disagree, right? But that's a choice that you're giving them from the start, and not letting one person just bulldoze you over and steamroll the whole relationship at this point. And now you don't have a voice, and now it's too late to kind of put your balance into work at that point. So that's one of the things I always try to tell people.
Yeah, and just coming from my perspective is we were always told like, you know, to play the game and like play it
Hmm.
cool. And honestly, that's what went through my mind dating in my 20s was like, oh, like they have to chase me and like, oh, I'm the cool girl and like, oh, like I'm not going to push a relationship. But now I've learned that it's good to let go of the expectation and let go of like maybe any pressure,
Right.
but to also say what I am looking for. That way I can filter through the people who, oh yeah, like we just wind up together. Yes, that happens occasionally, but it's kind of a harder path. And I've been
Yeah.
through that path and it has dragged me through the mud and made me feel like shit. Whereas if I just would have started with, hey, I am looking for a partner. I'm also having fun and enjoying my moments and my time, and there's no pressure, but
Hmm.
I am looking for a partner in a relationship. And so that has helped. But
Good.
yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, from the perspective of the male perspective, we are easy creatures. We're so easy. It's like we want to have that sense of assertiveness, but at the same time, it's almost like it's very easy for us guys to just do whatever the woman wants to say and do, because ultimately we need you guys in order to make us whole. That's the bottom line. If it wasn't for women out there, what the hell would we be doing? We'd just be wandering or just looking around in circles, going in circles, going in circles, nothing more than that. But that's why it's that whole thing with the yin and yang. So there's that
Yeah.
moment where one of the things that my girlfriend says, she goes, you know what? She goes, one thing I love about you is like you're one of the greatest guys, but you got just a little bit enough dick in you to keep it interesting. Because I do set my tone, but I'm a really good guy,
Yeah.
but I know how to put my foot down when I've had it. So I think that's just out of surface, just enough to keep it interesting that she always says.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I would be the devil's advocate here and say that we need to be whole people on our own and then come together as two whole people that do add more to it and
Agreed.
more to the
Yes.
relationship. And
Yeah,
like, but we are whole people. We don't have to be like missing something. It's better if you feel complete on your own and then you like find that person that like complements you
that's
or your
correct.
yin to your yang and you're just like, wow, we do fit and we do challenge each other. But yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I always tell, like, girls, I say, look, I go, when I meet someone that I just truly like and just, in one relationship with, I say, like, you don't need me for anything. That's the type of woman that I love going for. Like I said, that strong,
Mm,
independent woman who has her shit together and doesn't need a guy for anything. Obviously, we all need someone, but for the most part, she's fine on her own. And so my job is I just love to be like, I just want someone to compliment me, like you just said, that equal balance partner where you're whole, I'm whole, and we just move along together. We help each other out, we balance each other out, and we help each other to win. It's the easiest way I can say. I just love making sure that we both help each other to win and to succeed in life.
yeah. And that's a good way to look at it,
Hmm.
especially in a women's perspective, is like, hey, like help each other win.
Yeah.
But I am thinking this through and I'm like, okay, I do believe that there's what would I say? There's a part that goes off balance when women are too in their like independence because
Hmm.
men do want to be a provider and they do want to help. And that was something that I was too independent
Okay.
my last relationship and I needed to like allow them to be the provider and help me because they had that literal need to help and serve and provide.
Right.
What do
Right.
you have to say about that?
So my question to you is, and here's the question I've asked for you. So, and I hear what you're saying, which I totally agree with, but everyone has their levels of what they need through that independency. Like even though as independent as strong as you are, there's something that that person can balance you with. And that's when you know you're with the right person. So I can't say what that is because I don't know you fully yet, but I'm curious to know from your sake that what that not to say that it's a weakness, but what your thing is that you would just like, oh yeah, I need that sense of security. I need that sense of this. And most of
Mm,
the time, I like just like thinking about that right now, it's just the sense of just someone just being there for you. You need them. That sense of comfort, that sense of trust. Someone you can trust. That's probably the biggest thing that I can say, where they make you feel like I feel just so comfortable when I'm with this person that I feel that I can trust them, that there's just no animosity and he's letting me be me. And I feel like
yeah.
that's a lot of the time what the independent woman really, really needs, no matter how strong you are. It's a sense of feeling comfortable with whom you're with. And
Yes.
so that's all I can say with
Feeling
that one. Hmm.
safe and
Safe, very
comfortable,
much so.
listened to, supported when
Correct.
struggling. And
And not having
yeah,
like it's like a battle, like you guys
yeah,
are like basically fighting, like it's not a competition, in other words, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
like most guys at that point, even though I'm sure you've been out with a lot of them, and all of a sudden it gets to that head where they're just like, I just feel like, you're just not letting me be me, honey, and you're just like, I am, if you just allow me to be myself and not trying to run my life at the same time. And I'm sure that's the stuff that was probably where you're like, okay, you're out, dude. You're totally out right there. But a lot of guys at the beginning are willing to take that bet and willing to take that ride with you, right? And because they think, oh, eventually, she's going to need me for something. And their ego at the time is not going to get in the way because they're just giving you lip service just to get with you. But
Mhm.
eventually it's going to get to a point, like you just said, where it's going to really bother them and they're not going to know how to be compatible with you because it is a competition in their eyes. Hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to be in a competition.
Yeah.
I actually I love being supported and I loved getting like help and tips and whatnot. I feel like when it came at a way of not bossing me around or
Yeah.
that they knew better than me, like you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, where I'm like, well, you don't know what's worked and what hasn't. Can you maybe listen to me first and then
Yeah.
provide some support, or like hear my feedback, or let me complain a little bit, whatever it is. But yeah, I I don't know.
They were just trying to see that right there, though. They were trying to set a dominant tone with you, is what it was. Because if
Yeah.
they're feeling inferior, especially if they know, I mean, trust me, they knew how independent you were when they met you. Let's just be honest, right? But they had to put their footprint into your lifestyle and say, that's what you're just saying. Like, no, like my way, or this is the right way to do it. And you're like, calm
Yeah.
down. Let's just hear me out first. But we get intimidated, which bruises our ego, which means that we have to go tenfold the amount of level just to get heard. And that's something where it's a failure, unfortunately.
Interesting.
So, mhm.
What tips would you have for women to kind of have that balance, like in communication?
Like I said from the beginning, just set your tone of assertiveness from the beginning. I'm going to be very honest. My girlfriend, she's a doctor, and when we first started dating, it was that thing of like, okay, bottom line, she's already making more money than me, and I was like, so the first day after, let's say, we were really in it for about a month, and so I came at dinner one day and I had the sheet of paper, and I went and I read it to her saying, look, I go, just because I know that you're making more than me, I hope that this is never going to affect our relationship, because if it does, I'm out right now. Just to let you know that I don't want it to be an issue. I'm not jealous of what you make. I'm on my own path. I'm doing just fine. But, let's just face it, right now in our lifestyle, you're making a shitload of money, which she does. She's an amazing doctor. And so she looked at me, she goes, not an issue for me. And I go, great, not an issue for me. And 6 years later,
Ooh,
we are fine. So, but I let her know from the beginning, just on the flip flop of that, it's just like, this is not going to be an issue. And I don't want you to ever put it over my head, because if it is, I'm out
yeah.
of here right now. And I'm sure the flip flop version were a lot of women in that situation, or vice versa. You got to come clean for what you want after the first. If you know that this is the person you're going to be with, you need to set the boundaries and set the tone. And if this way, if you put it out there at the beginning, you're not going to get anything like blindsided down the road, right? Because you've already put it out there, and the other person said, okay, yes, it's not a problem for me. I think it's going to make things on an even playing ground at that point, to where it's never going to be a thought in your head that's going to bother you. And so,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
I really like
Okay.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
putting that
So
out there. And
at the
then what
beginning,
about on the men's side? Is there a way that women can kind of like, hey, I know you make more than me and you pay for most of the things. Like, is
yeah,
there like a way that women can say that? Because I'm gonna be fucking frank here,
right.
is my ex did pay for most things, and there were certain things we weren't even Stevens like on
Okay.
everything. It was different. And I try
Okay.
to share that more with men and women. Like, it's not even Stevens, it's different.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it could be sexually different. It could be they pay for not the same half and half. It balances through different ways. And that's what I like wish people would stop saying. I like it's just down the middle, half and half. No, like masculine, feminine energy, like dating those different, it's different dynamics. So
It's totally different
that
dynamics.
was a resentment though that he
Okay.
held, because he would be always like, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, it doesn't matter, but then deep down he didn't share me like, hey, I would appreciate if you like paid for something here and there, but he would always do it instantly,
Okay.
so it was
See, and
like,
this is where I tell people where a lot of relationships fail, honestly, Tia, because it's one of those things where the longer you harbor that thought process, the
yeah,
more it festers, and you're never going to ever feel like whole. So, but it'd be surprising to know, like, if he just said something to you, you would have been like, okay. And it would, let's just say you would have been like, okay, sure, no problem at all. It would have made it so much easier. But because we always assume what the other person might say, we just don't bring it up. It's just the fear of just letting it out there. And that's something that I tell everyone. I say, look, I go, if you have an issue with someone, just let them know, because once again, my
yeah,
biggest thing is like, they're either going to say yes or no, or accept it or not. How simple is that? And there's nothing worse than you, like, let's say if I'm mad at you, right? I'm like huffing and puffing around the house, and all of a sudden I go, and you're like, well, finally you go, what's wrong? And let's say you don't even say anything, and you go, what's wrong? I'm like, well, I'm mad at this and this. And you're like, okay, well, you just could have asked me and I would have taken care of it. But I think that they feel like there's going to be this push and pull, or there's going to be some sort of, well, they're not going to get me, or something like that, because people are afraid of asking the hard questions, and
yeah,
because they're afraid of the answers. So just put it out there.
yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise it harbors and then there's a blow up, or it's like
And it could have been
a
solved so
year,
easily
yeah,
by
6
just saying,
months,
hey,
3
T, I don't
months, a
like this.
year. Yeah, just so
Right.
much resentment, and like then you almost can't even like take it back. You can't even ever get past that point. Yeah, it's just
Exactly. It changes up the dynamics after a while. And if you just would have put it out there, it could have been just so much easier. But once it's out there, you realize how much easier it is to communicate on other things and other issues where it's not going to become that much of a big deal. And you could have just saved, like you said, this whole amount of time just getting along rather than just, just pulling apart. So,
yeah.
mhm.
So, what are some of those signs for women to be aware of? And
You
like
mean,
maybe like stay away signs.
in which way though? Please tell me, like, you mean from, by staying away, if you mean if you're in a relationship, or staying away if you are about to
Dating.
jump into something?
Dating.
Let's see.
Like what are some of those
Yeah.
clear signs that men do that show that, hey, this probably not a good quality man. You should just like be aware of this sign and maybe like, okay, you've gotten so many signs, now go. Like
Right.
what are some of those
The
signs?
easiest way for me to say this, and I have to say it's just the easiest way. The first and foremost sign is, like, we all have red flags,
Yeah.
correct? Sometimes we ignore them. Sometimes you go, hmm? Like, you kind of get that little tick, yeah, I'll just let it go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And we just let it go until it gets too late. And all of a sudden it comes up and comes up again. Just be able to read the signs of just how, if you're talking to someone, especially at the beginning of dating, we all just put our best foot forward. We all put out whatever we want the other person to hear. But you
And
got to
I
throw up.
don't agree on this and
I,
I don't
I
do
I
that
highly don't
at
agree
all.
on this at all. Like, I mean, I have this thing
Zero.
where I tell people, I go, the first thing you should just start playing truth or honesty instead of truth or dare from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
where you just
Mm-hmm.
virtually say, hey, so I want to know something about you. And you just start off really small, because all of a sudden it creates this trusting sort of value between each other, to where you're like, oh, well, if you can ask
Yeah.
that question and look at me in a straight face and really it doesn't really throw you off a little bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of fun to do. But most people that I know, like who I've talked to, have tried it. They go, yeah, we're a little afraid though, because what if we find out this about them? I go, well, what if you do? It's just like their past. It has nothing to do with you and your life right now together. It's just something
Mm-hmm.
that happened in the past. So, but to move forward though, I feel like some of the signs you should look for is to trust your gut instinct first and foremost. You might go out this person. Anyone can be wowed. Anyone can be in that first phase of just like bliss where you're like, but we miss a lot of things in that time. So you just got to, like I tell people, just make sure you kind of stay grounded. Make sure that you put out there what you want to bring to the table versus just letting someone lead all the time. And especially at the beginning, like I said, a lot of guys want to set that tone from the beginning. And quite frankly, I have to be honest, a lot of women do the same thing. They just they want to put their label on, this is how I am. This is what I expect out of a guy. This is what I want from a guy.
Yeah. Uh-oh, you froze again.
Sometimes I literally just look at them and go, I'm sorry, are you hearing me right now? Sorry.
Yeah, you
Okay,
froze
so
again, but
sometimes
it flowed.
when that happens, for me, even as when I hear this from women, I sit there and go, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, it's like you're not going to
Yeah.
control me in that sense, and let's just bring it back down. Let's just figure it all out. So because everyone wants to have that what is it, that dominant sort of pull, and that's like I said, it's a game all the way through, as we know, Tia. Let's just be honest. So.
Yeah, I feel like if a woman is wanting to attract more of that masculine man that
Mhm.
leads and that it kind of wants to hold space for that feminine energy, that's not the right way to go, ladies. And I know some of like even like my closer friends that really lead with that, and they're just like,
Yeah.
this is me, this is how I am, this is what I expect. It comes off so intense.
Yes, it
And
does. Right.
so yeah, I want to hear.
Right. From both ends, by the way. And you're right, though. Like I said, from the guy's point of view, like you just said, there's a lot of women that they have their thing. Like, I want this. And if you can't do this, then I don't think. And I'm like going, this is only like the second date. What the hell? It's like, don't bring all this energy to me to where it's like,
Yeah.
but once again, that like energy attracts though. And so
Yes.
if that woman's putting it out there and she knows, like, I remember this one girl, she goes, first of all, she goes, when I meet a guy, all I want to do is like, he's going to take me out to dinner. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. I'm like, really? I'm like, but there's a select kind of guy that will actually do exactly what she wants. And then vice versa, the guy setting the tone of what he wants, a woman will follow. But those are, people who are meant for each other. Let's just be honest, right? They are meant for a while, not for the long
For a
haul, but for a
while.
while. Because eventually you get sick of it either way. Like, I know a
Exactly.
lot of guys go, God, I'm so tired of like this one girl. I'm like, dude, then why did you even put it with that in the first place? Because I can see how she is. Why would anyone want to be
Yeah.
like that? But we want what we attract. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. And especially how you said it only lasts for a while.
Oh,
So
short
those
while.
women who do want a masculine men, but then they come at that like attacking, controlling, and then the men
Yeah.
have to rise to it. But then
Yes,
once
they
they
do.
rise and they achieved that challenge, they no longer want to be bossed around and controlled. And then they're like, wait, okay, I achieved this because they're like this challenge. And
Yeah,
then they're done because they're sick of being emasculated and controlled. So,
that's
like,
correct.
I really believe in like a masculine feminine energy balance. And
Whole
I've
yeah.
dated women where
Mhm.
it is this balance. It's a tango. It's weaved in and out, but you can kind of like go back and forth or like allow some areas that they lead or you lead and
Correct.
kind of like a
But
tango.
that's also, but once again, just off of what you just said to you, that's just you knowing your worth. That's one of the biggest things that I tell people. I go, look, know your worth, because if you know your worth, you're gonna stand your ground. And if you stand your ground, it's not going to come off like as a negative attitude or bitchy mode. It's just like you're just who you are, and you want the other person, if they're really going to be with you, they're going to understand that. But it doesn't have to be a fight all the time, or just this mode of just like aggression or bitchiness or something like that. It's just like even the nicest person, like I said, can get killed. Let's just be honest. Like there'll be someone who will just crush that person because this person's just way too nice. What do they always say? Nice guys finish last, basically. So that person has to know how to have enough energy and assertiveness to stand his ground, and that's confidence. So just know your worth in the game. And if you know your worth, then you're not going to have to fight for it too hard. You're just going to it's just going to run itself and be smooth. So it's the way I always see it.
Yeah.
I've been
I
challenged a lot, like
yeah.
I'm sure as all you've been challenged a lot. And sometimes do you ever look at that person, just sit there and go, yeah, no, I don't think so. you know,
Yeah, for
because you can
sure.
see them trying to put their spin on it. And you're just looking at them like, this is not going to affect me at all. Whatever you're doing, it's not going to work. So,
I'm at the point where I kind of know what they're doing and I
mhm.
understand their because I study personalities and like I understand them probably more than they like know that I know. And I'm like, okay, so the women that you've been like attracting put up with your bullshit and now you're with me and I'm like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and
Yeah.
like the ability for them to step up and then I just get annoyed and I'm like why did I even give that a thought, you
So where does
know?
that go in your case? So where does that end up going?
Okay, so I will give you a right now scenario.
Okay.
I have this guy that I can tell he thinks he's the shit. Like he has a lot of followers, he's on TV, like blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, cool, you think you're the shit. And I can tell he's used to having women as an option and then
Yeah.
they're just available for him and they like move their schedule around him. And I'm just like, dude, like you can make a plan. Let's make a plan. But he keeps
Right.
putting me as an option. And I can read it verbatim what I wrote yesterday because I can be in my feminine energy with men that they lead and they
You're like,
show
I'll
me
allow
their,
that to happen. Let's see where this
yeah,
goes.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so he just still was putting me as like, oh, like maybe Saturday. And
Yeah,
I'm
see,
just
you're
like,
just like, and I get that. You're just one of his many at that point, and
yeah,
he's gonna wait for the best option, and that's what he's doing. If that option doesn't work out, then he's gonna go down the road and down the road until he finds, okay, you know what, Tia, now I'm ready. Okay, let's set this out. And by then you're like, dude, it's fucking Saturday afternoon. You want me to be ready in an hour? Fuck you.
yeah,
Bottom line.
exactly. And
So,
I'm fine with spontaneity.
mhm.
Like one of the guys I recently went on a date, it just aligned. But he was available to make a plan, but it
Okay,
just worked out. So I'm
that's a
definitely
big
down with
difference.
spontaneity.
Yeah,
But it wasn't like this, like, oh, if I'm available, oh, if I'm available.
it's
And I was just
off-putting.
like, yeah. I was
Mhm.
like, so if you want to make a plan for Saturday, or are you just gonna have this be an option if you feel
Right,
like it?
right.
And honestly, like that's not how I want to be with a guy that I'm actually interested in because I don't think that's a good balance and I was very like snappy, but like
I don't
I'm to
think
the
you're a
point
snappy at all. That's not
yeah.
snappy. You just know what he's doing. That's the difference right there. You're being snappy because you know what he's doing. He's playing a game with you, is what's happening. And this guy, like you just said, you said it from the beginning. If he's a little popular, he's got a lot of women that are interested and da da da. So he's got a pick of the litter. And now he's gonna
Yeah.
pick the winner, and he's gonna just go down the, if the winner doesn't say yes, he's just gonna go down the road. But the good news is
Yeah.
for you, here's the choice that I now, this is actually good for us right now, because normally I hear this a lot, and some women in your situation are like, God, I don't know. It's like, I really like him, but he keeps putting me off, but I'm just waiting for him to go out with and blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? You need to lose that number is what I tell them,
Yeah.
because he's not interested. He's playing a game with you and you're his fifth option right now. I'm sorry.
10th,
So,
5th,
mhm,
20th, I don't know. They could just literally put that meme they sent to you
that's
or
right.
that
Yeah.
message to 10, 20 other people, and whoever's available right then, because that's how they work.
Yeah.
You're not special.
No.
And so I don't
And
know. I'm to the point where I'm just
unfortunately,
like,
it
hey,
sucks
dude,
though. It really,
lose my
yes.
number.
That's the thing. That's like now see, but here's the thing, and this is how I tell women how they win their power back in these situations. So your goal now is just to ignore this. If you like, say you want to go out with them, right? Let's say I'm saying this for your audience now, right? You ignore his ass. He's going to respond to you somewhere down the road. Don't text him back. Wait a while and say, and if he says, this is normally what guys do in this, he'll go. So his next test, if he hasn't heard from you, he'll go, hey, nothing really big, just hey, because he wants you to now to spark the rest of the conversation now. And that's all he needs to say to you. It's just, hey, oh, he's interested again. So, hey, what have you been up to? And all of a sudden he's like, now he's got you back on the hook. This is what happens. So
These are some good
yeah.
examples.
These are things. Remember, I've been through the gamut like a long time. And this is what I do. What
Yep.
I do as well. So it's like I virtually have been the cheater. I've been the guy who's been on all sides of this whole thing. And I know the ins and out of this whole game. And so it's one of those things where that's one of the things why I tell people I'm such an advocate for women, because I can tell you how to win your power back when shit like this happens. And usually most of the time, it's just if you just ignore a guy for a minute, we're going to, especially if we're already in that mode of into a little bit, we're going to come back eventually, whether it's not early, we're eventually go, hey, how you doing? Just to kind of reconnect that spark again, because any option or any open door to us, it's still a potential somewhere down the road, right? Even if we haven't
Yeah.
spoken to you for a year, there's still like, oh, I remember that one girl. Let me reach out to her and see if she's still interested in me, because it's like, remember what I said, if she's interested in me still. So I'm going to throw it out there and just see
Yeah.
like what bites at that point. And if it hits, now I got you back on the hook. And this is what
Yeah.
happens sometimes. So,
Instead of them showing their interest, they're
that's
just
correct.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, is
I had a
she interested?
I had a
Yeah.
friend up at I just got back from a podcast convention about a month and a half ago. And so, not to toot my own horn, but I had a lot of women around me. And so my friend, she looked at me and she goes, if I was your girlfriend, she goes, I don't ever think I could be your girlfriend, because she goes, you have 30 women around you right now, Chris, and they're all circling around you like a hawk. She goes, how do you do that? And I go, well, first of all, I'm never going to make one of them feel like I'm leading anyone on, because first of all, I have
Mhm.
a girlfriend, and secondly, it's just like,
Yeah.
if you're going to have the balls, and I say this in a women way, if you have the balls to go, oh my God, I think you're handsome, I think you're this and that, and have the balls to come say that to me, I'm not going to soak it in like you're talking about this other guy. I'm going to be
Mm.
respectful and be like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think you're amazing as well. And spin it back to them where it's now equal, and not just them giving me something to where I go, well, thank you. What's your name and what can I get out of you? This and that. I don't do that. I just want,
Yeah.
if you're going to come talk to me and just say that, I'm going to be gracious and grateful and humble and be just, oh my God, thank you so much. And then be like, but Tia, look at you. Like, you're freaking awesome. So I want to get to know you a little bit more, da, da, da. And I can work a room of like 30 people like this. And she saw this happen. She goes, how do you not keep any of these girls getting
Mm.
jealous of each other or you? And I go, because I don't stay around long enough to make them feel that way. Like
Yeah.
if I'm spinning and talking to like 30 girls at one moment, I'm each individually giving each of you time to where it's like, I appreciate you, but that's it. I just appreciate you for appreciating me, and I want to know you more, and I want to be friends with you or whatever it is. But if there's
Mhm.
never any hidden agenda though behind all this as well. And that's
Yeah.
why I go, that's why I would never ever make any of these girls jealous, because when I'm in it, I take a step away and I go sit down or whatever it is and just be by myself for a little bit as well, to show them that I'm not really going to be this person. Now, put any other guy in this situation and his head spinning like a top, going, ooh, I have all these options. Who am I going to take home tonight? Who am I going to sleep with tonight? And da da da. So we're only thinking about ourselves at that point, and now it becomes kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Unattractive to all the other girls in theory
Mhm.
as well. So the guy that you're talking
Yeah.
about, he's eventually, like you just said, you're seeing his true colors coming out by just even to the point of where he's at with you right now, because he's not giving you enough attention at this point to really, he's putting you off, in other words. He's using it as like a third or fourth option. And that's something that I always tell people. I go, if a guy does that to you and you're not getting a response back, or if you ask, like you said, hey, when are we going out? And it's just not giving you a certain date or something, he's playing you at this point.
Yeah. And I really just think that's what he wants right now is
Mhm.
somebody to come to him and be around
Right.
his schedule. And
It's more attention. He just wants
yeah,
he's eating up all the attention and he
yeah.
and truly, let's say he really ultimately does want to go out with you. But like I said, he's waiting for a better option all the time. There's always a better option in some guys' eyes, and especially the guys who are getting a lot of attention because they're going to see, well, let me see who's going to give me the most out of this whole scenario of what I need the most.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
Saturday's pretty valuable. So
Yeah,
whatever.
I was like,
Mhm.
Saturday, I'm definitely not gonna be sitting at home. Like, do you want to make a plan right now and commit to it? Okay, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have a plan. So
Right.
don't
Right.
even hit me up.
Yeah, just make sure it's not a Monday girl. If you turn into that Monday girl, then you're like, oh, you get for your Saturday, like you passed me over and put me on a Monday. Fuck you. Fuck you for that. So
That's
your
funny.
your
That's
face
funny.
right now is cracking me up. You're just
Oh my
like,
God.
yeah,
No. Okay, so what are some ways that men can be better men and like just supportive, be better, treat women better,
that's a
and
great
yeah.
question. So one of the things that I try to coach people on is just to really that's a really good question, Tia. And anyone who listens to this, that question can be easily answered if guys just learn how to be their true authentic selves. And the only way you can do that is just to really know who you are deep down inside. Once again, just like they have to, a lot of guys, once again, our ego gets in our way. Let me just be honest with you. And when the ego gets in the way, it's just a world of hurt. Like we feel when we feel jilted, or as I like to say, butt hurt, we lash out. Most guys do. And it's just sad. All of a sudden you're just like, you see this good guy, which I'm sure you've seen, and all of a sudden it just changes on a dime when they don't hear what they want to hear, when they're not
Mm,
getting their way. And they sometimes lash out in a certain sort of way where it sometimes is not the nice way. And you're all of a sudden like, where the fuck did this come from? You know what I mean? So ego is a lot of it, though. I feel like a lot of guys just need to squash their egos a little bit more. Yes, we need ego for confidence. Yes, we need ego for certain things, but you just don't need it to rule our lives just because it's used for the wrong way sometimes. And so for myself, for instance, like I always tell people I have no ego. Like, yes, I said once again, I have my ego when it comes to business and when it comes to certain things, but when my ego, I'm just so even keel and I'm just so attentive and listening. That's one of the things why I feel like once the ego gets out of the way, you're just a better person for it most
yeah.
times. And I feel like that's the answer. But you got to really be in touch with yourself. Whether it be a lot of guys need to get in touch with their feminine side, whether guys just need to go, you know what? I'm just a fucking dick and just need to realize it and just kind of own it and just be like, hey, look, okay, now I can be settled into my own space right now. Just whatever it is. You just need to get more in tune with yourself. And that's a lot of it.
Wait, so if they're a dick, just be a dick? Like they
Well, you know
shouldn't
what? At
work to
least,
being
but hey,
better?
but check this out though. If a dick is being a dick, he's like, dude, I'm just a fucking dick. You're like, at least he's being honest with you, right?
Yeah. Or like if a guy just, right now wants to sleep with all the women and like not have relationships, just be upfront about it and be like, hey, like I'm not looking anything for anything. Like I do want to have sex with
Hmm.
you, but I'm really not looking for like anything. And this is like maybe a one-time thing. Honestly, there's books about that. Women are
Hmm.
fine. And the women who wants to just have that, there are women that want that. And
Right.
then they won't feel
And once again,
used.
that's being completely honest, and the
Yeah.
other person, but it's like there's nothing worse than someone putting on a mask or putting on a show where it's like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy just fucking duped me right now. He said he's
Mhm.
into me and all of a sudden he just flips on a dime. So you have to be able to be aware of just the little things. And one of the biggest things like I tell women, if your red flags are coming up like frequently, you got to take signal signs of that and take note of that and just get the hell out. So, and I
Yeah.
know it's not easy all the time because guys, once again, we will suck you in all the time, just like a woman can suck us guys in. So,
Yeah.
like I said, there's no right or wrong, but just be aware more than
Yeah.
anything else. And like
Trust
I
your
tell a
gut.
lot of my guy friends, like I said, I go, like you'd be the greatest guy if you just tone it down and just allow yourself to be just a little bit more on a level. But they feel
Yeah.
like they have to just, once again, put on that show. So,
Yeah, that ego for
mhm.
sure. How does ego show up for men? What are some good examples?
Well, here's a good example. So I won't say any names, but I have a friend where she was going out with this guy a few times, and I mean by a few times, it was like 2 or 3 dates. But then she was going on a few dates with this other guy as well. So she chose the other guy. So she decided, you know what, I'm going to be good. I'm going to text this other guy and let him know, hey, you know what,
Mm,
I don't think that, I'm sorry. I think I want to, I've met someone else, in other words, right?
mhm.
But I'd still want to be friends if you want to be friends. So the guy's response was like, oh, well, gee, like, and by the way, she was like, this guy was such a great guy, and I really would like to go out with this guy, but the other guy was just more of what I really wanted, right? Nothing wrong with the guy. But so this guy responds and goes, well, I thought we really had something. We went on a few dates and I just assumed that we had something. And who have you been dating? Like, there's another guy. So what he said at this point was now he started getting uglier and uglier in the text as it went on. And by the way, she never responded to, she goes, I'm sorry, it's just what it was. He proceeded to write 3 or 4 texts over the next few days, just going down this downward spiral. You fucking bitch. I can't believe you like,
Seriously.
that's how bad it got. And all because she was being open and honest about saying, hey, I met someone that I think I want to pursue. Thank you so much, and just being honest with them. He got so pissed off and so ugly to her on all these texts. She was showing me texts. I go, that's the shit right there. And I
Yep.
go, you know what? The good news is you saved yourself a lot of like, shit down the road because
Yeah.
he presented himself as being a great guy, which I'm sure he was, but the underlying tone of his ego getting bruised really showed his ugly head. And that's the
Yeah.
shitty part. So,
Ah, and that's so sucky
right.
because that's why oftentimes we just ghost or disappears
That's
because that's
correct.
happened to me. I've
Okay.
like I didn't have a set date. This was years ago, but a set time or date with a guy. And then he's like, "Oh, are you ready for our date?" I'm like, "You didn't set a specific time, date, or place." So I didn't set that time, date, or place. And he's like, "Oh, you're a bitch," and blah blah blah
Yeah, it gets
blah.
pissed.
I was
Yep.
like,
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that ego.
Right.
And they're like,
And by the way, it's like it's the little things that flip the switch like that, right? And you know what? The funniest thing, going back to the other story to you, all the guy had to say was when she wrote that to him was like, you know what? No worries, I understand that, but if you and the other guy don't ever work out, I'm just hey, hit me up, whatever,
yeah,
made a joke out of it. Who knows that this new guy could only last for a few weeks, and then she probably goes, oh my god, this other guy, he might have been the one. Who knows, right? But
yeah,
now because he showed his true colors, he is now out for the rest of his life with her now.
yep.
And all he had to do was just change up the wording by just saying, man, that's disappointing. Shit. Like, you know what? Well, hey, down the road, if you want to be friends, hey, hit me up or whatever. It's like you keep those doors open, especially if you feel like you had a connection with someone like that as well. This
Mm.
guy in your case, it's just like, I mean, was that an earlier on dating sort of thing, or was that
Oh
maybe
yeah,
like
that
the
was
first
like
date?
probably like a decade ago.
Okay.
And I was just like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. And I don't like to be called a bitch. So I
No,
was like,
but what was the
what the
point of going
heck?
that deep for the throat of just because he was, first of all, there was nothing set up, but yet
Hmm.
he had to go really far into that by calling you the names and all that shit. It's like, once again, that just shows a person's true colors on where that's going down the road.
Yeah. I
So,
definitely avoided that, but I was just like, whoa, like, okay, I definitely glad I didn't waste my time on that date,
yeah.
but wow, wow.
I think this should
Yeah.
be I think you just gave us a new litmus test for dating actually right now, where I think every girl should probably just for the hell of it, use this as a test to go, just say, hey, at the last minute, I'm sorry, I can't go on the date. Something came up, and see how the guy reacts. And he's a good guy if he goes, no problem, let's just set it up for another day. I hope everything works out well. Or if the guy goes, fuck you, I can't believe you're like you're canceling me at the last second and blah blah blah. This would be a good test of knowing if you have a good guy or not, by the way.
Yeah, and I will say I do a little bit of tests. I try not to do it like the first date because that kind of sucks. You might not get a second one, but I
Right.
mean, if something happens, it happens. But I do kind of like to test the waters about certain things and how they react. And that's true. But
Mhm.
should it also be the same for the women? What if the guy cancels at the last minute? Think the woman should just be chill as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, once again, it all depends on the scenarios, right? Like, if he goes, hey, I'm sorry, I worked, da 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 da. These are little things that I feel like a person needs to preface before it happens. Like,
Yeah.
hey, like the day's looking a little bleak today, maybe
Yeah.
that morning or something to give you enough time to at least be on par of going,
Yep.
okay, if this happens, then I can make other arrangements, whatever it is. But I also feel like that's being stand up for sure. It's like, but if it springs on, unless he has a really good excuse of that last minute to where it's like, and you can feel that genuine, I can't even say the word right now, that genuine, like, that genuine thing, I think
Yeah.
it's okay.
Honesty.
But
Yeah.
but if it's happens again and again and again, yeah, that's not a
Cut a
good
loose.
sign. No.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, let people know if you're like, "Oh shit, like I might not be able to make tonight. My appointment's running a little bit
Hmm.
long or something like that." definitely if I was sitting at a bar already there, I'd be
No.
pissed and I would
Yeah.
not go on a date again.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely points where it's
Yes.
like, oh, if you let me know a few hours or a day before, or just kind of like, hey, I might not be able to make it. That's definitely
Right.
understandable. Not over and over and over, but yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
That's for sure. And hopefully they're just not using it as a cop out, just not to go out on the date with you and just like, maybe I don't want to go on this date after all. So
Yeah,
no, we just never know what people I tell you.
customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot in the dating space that we have to navigate through. So and quite frankly, it's a lot easier than what it seems to be if we just go in with eyes wide open half the
Mhm.
time. I feel like we're just so blinded by certain things when we are in that space. I get it. I mean, we all do it. We're all victims of it, but you
Mhm.
just got to go in just a little more aware. I mean, don't go in like full guns ablazing with your whole like, I see what you're doing. I gotcha. I know what you're going on over there, Tia. When it's the whole thing, it's just like I'm going to figure out, like, I know what you're doing to me. Just going with just an open mind, first of all, and just, because shit happens. So,
Yeah. Well,
mhm.
there's a part of me that I'm just like with this guy that's driving me, like he's just bugging me. Like at this point, I'm just like, stop DMing me. Like
Okay.
you're kind of bothering me.
Yeah.
I just got to that point where I was like, okay, like, are we gonna make a plan? Yes or no? And I guess I don't know. It kind of bothers me when people keep DMing me though, or
Okay.
messaging me. I almost want to be
Okay.
like, hey, just stop. Like, stop texting me. Like
You're
this
saying
isn't
it's,
the
it's
right fit.
especially when it's gotten to a point, right? Like, I
Yeah.
guess if it's gotten to a point where you're just kind of like, you can see that there's just nothing that's going to come out of it, or if it's just too much play. I get that. I understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it pushed me into that like aggressive mode, like, just stop, dude.
Oh,
I'm not a big, like, let's just text a bunch of people and like get that fill. I don't get
hmm.
a fill from texting a bunch of people. I
Okay.
like to be focused on my work, and it's honestly just a distraction to me
Got it.
unless it's like moving towards something.
I like
Um,
that though from you though. I
yeah.
kind of like that. I think that's a good thing for people out there to know. It's just like you're very much know what you want. Let's just be honest,
Yeah.
right? You know that your work life's busy. If you're gonna date someone, it needs to be planned. It needs to be, pretty much scheduled and accurate. Like you have no time for bullshit. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
I
no
appreciate
time for
that.
bullshit.
I
But I'm
appreciate that a
also
lot.
in the moment. Like,
Yeah.
I
And
can
that's
go on a
fine.
date
Hmm.
and see if I enjoy their company. There's no pressure. We can see if we are on the right path and then continue that until there's a certain point. And I'm like, okay, like, there's no future. I'm no longer going to communicate with you, text you, or anything. And maybe I'll respond in the DMs with some hearts because now you're one of my friends.
Oh, they made the friend category. Lovely. We all love the friend space, don't we? It's
Yeah,
just,
thanks for the hearts. I
yeah.
appreciate the
Oh my
hearts.
God. They're like, she hearted me. Damn it. I'm out. I'm so out. It's like, well, you made your bed, dude. You made your bed. You waited a little too long. But I appreciate that though. I like the fact that you're assertive when it comes to that stuff. That's
Yeah,
something that I appreciate a lot, by the way. That's
I
one thing
have.
about a woman that I sit there and go, look, I don't have time for BS, but it's, once again, it's genuine though. It's
Mhm.
something like, we can all read through the lines of certain things, but if you're being genuine and being very honest and open about it, that is read across the board, no matter what style you're pushing at someone. It's easily read at that point because it's the energy.
And then it you don't waste your
No.
time
Mm-mm.
with somebody that you don't really actually see a future with. Oh, he may be great. No, trust your gut, like you said
Yeah.
earlier.
Hmm.
Be upfront from the beginning and like leave that space to actually meet somebody that you could keep going on dates with.
Right. Right. Yeah, ladies, I have to say, like, I'm going back for another tip. Like, if you go out on that date for the first time, what you're looking for is for the guy to be attentive, obviously not talking too much about himself. He's listening, he's asking
Yeah.
really good questions, and you'll pick the tone up. Most of the
Yeah.
time that another thing as well, one of the things I tell guys, like, it's funny, like if you're with a woman, you're on a date with her, if her eyes are just kind of like you're looking at her as you're talking with her, but then her eyes just kind of float off. Just be aware of that, gentlemen, on how many times the eyes flop. She's not interested at that point.
Wow.
No, no, there's all
Yeah.
there's all these little tricks and trays that you can pick up pretty easily. So
Hmm.
yeah. And you know
I've
what I'm
been
talking about, Tia. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
I've
those
been
eyes start
told
floating
though
off.
that I have really good eye contact, but I think I
Good.
do that even if I'm not completely interested. I think it's a different energy though. They can
Okay.
tell whether I'm into them energy or I'm just
Right.
being a nice communicative,
But I
eye
was gonna say you're
contact
being
person.
respectful regardless, though, and I appreciate that, though. And that's
Yeah.
something that's hands down. I'm like, you know what, didn't work out, but I liked going on this date with this person because at least she was being respectful and honest. So, and there
Yeah.
was like, like I said, and you were listening, but just not the right fit for you. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with
Take me
that.
on a date. You'll have a good first date. I will be honest whether I'm going on a second date or not, whether or not I'm into you, usually.
I love
So
that.
that kind of leads me to my next question.
Hmm.
I am fully dating. Like I'm dating, I'm looking for a partner. I'm open to finding a partner, but I'm
Okay.
also open to like, letting it gradually grow. I'm being very like, I actually want to take my time with this. Um, so I'm dating and there's, a few people, there's like a couple people that I'm like, oh, I could go on a second or third date with. They have good qualities, they have
Okay.
similar goals, but maybe I feel like I'm too hard.
Hard in which way? Like in
Like
which
I
way?
have a list of
Oh, you have a
things I want,
checklist.
but like
Yes.
no, I have like my 5
Hmm.
deal breakers and my
Okay.
5 must-haves. So I don't like go way crazy,
I
but
would
then
love
there's
to
a
actually hear
point.
those one day. We have to talk about that. But go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
continue though.
Those are important. You have to have those, ladies
Right,
and
but go back to
gentlemen.
where you just said something that I picked up on. You said that, but I feel like I'm being hard, and I want to know what you mean by that, though.
Yeah. So, okay. One of them has a lot of characteristics, and
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, this is great. One of them, I'm like, okay, there's not that like chemistry. Like, I don't want to jump his bones. Do I go on a third date? Like, it's like I liked his communication. He hit all the 5 things I'm looking for,
Right,
but there's like not this, you can't force it though. And
right. So
I'm
you're
just
not
like,
feeling
I
that
just let
spark
it
from that
go.
one, in theory.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, like, and this is
Yeah.
something I've had a conversation with a lot of women with. It's like, okay, let's say he meets all the criteria that you're looking for, except for that spark and energy. Sometimes, you might just have to just that's a tough one. Not to say that, you
Yeah.
just might have to just go in again and just see what it's like, because sometimes
Yeah.
it takes time for people to figure that out. Like there's been a lot of people that said, oh my God, I met this one person, and that first when I met them, they were not the one. And then eventually down the road, oh my God, they became the love of my life. And so I always go, how did you not know that the first time? And what changed at that point? So there
Yeah.
could be things like that. It's sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's where you're at right now. Let me ask you this. You went out with that person, that one particular person that you're talking about. What made you want to go out with them in the first place? What was that first thing that made you go, yeah, sure, I'll go out with you?
Honestly, I would say the second date. Well, like the first date, I was just kind of like, let's do this. It's spontaneous. Let's see how it is. The first date
Okay.
was great. The first date, great chemistry. We had similar goals. We had very good communication. There was definitely energy. The second date was a little bit like, oh, like I think we were both exhausted. So
Oh,
I
got
think I
it.
could give him a third date to see if there's more chemistry because all the other things are good to see that. But usually for me, I'm like, okay, 3,
I
yeah,
I think that's acceptable. And
yeah,
there's something out there that I ask a lot of, more so than guys and women, because for myself, like I always have this thing where I go, how do you not know after the first date if you really want to go out that person or not anymore? Like for me, it's like I normally know right away. I'm like, yeah, it's not the one for me,
yeah,
because I am paying attention. I'm looking, paying attention, and just like chemistry, whatever it is, right? But for you, I know a lot of women go, well, like I just didn't get everything that I wanted to see after that first one, which I understand and I can validate that. So in your case, I think the third one might be a good choice, because
yeah,
you said something there. The second one, you might have felt maybe you were just a little tired on the second date. You weren't giving your
hmm,
full energy to that date like you did on the first time. So I think that's an
yeah,
acceptable third date. When is that happening, by the
yeah.
way?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. And how
He
does he
hasn't.
feel about it, by the way? Where's he at with all this? I got your perspective, but have you guys been talking?
No, it kind of like I think it was the day before Valentine's Day and it happened to be a spontaneous date and honestly I was like, okay, like are we going to keep seeing each other? I wasn't sure and we were
Okay.
both kind of tired. We both said that we almost canceled but we both showed up anyways. And I was
Right.
like, okay, that's a different energy and dynamic and then we kind of didn't keep talking. So, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just let it go, but it's good
Okay.
for me to think this through
Yeah.
because for me, I'm one of those people that I get like, I really am into like the chemistry and the connection, but then I'm missing sometimes the parts that I really need and the deal breakers or the must
Okay.
haves. So I'm like, how do I balance this?
Yeah.
Because I am more of that like intense person.
Well, let me ask you this. So, like, since let's say I heard five, let's say, so were three of the five, do you feel like that would be enough, or do they have to meet in your eyes everything in
Oh
theory?
no, they have to have all five for me
Okay,
to
that's
keep pursuing.
interesting. Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
interested in what that
no,
is for
there's only
sure.
five.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
talking
I'm
about,
just saying,
I'm looking
sometimes
for a,
five is a lot for a lot of people. Five is a lot for some people.
oh
Some people
no,
just need to
these,
focus on one or two. Let's just be
no,
honest.
no, no, no. I'm looking for like a life partner.
I get
No,
that.
these
No,
are
I
like my
understand that.
deal
But once again,
breakers.
I remember I don't know what those five are. But like I
Yeah,
said, if I
yeah,
saw it, then we could talk about that. But
yeah.
once again, some people have this whole list of criteria that like just like, I'm like, dude, that's just too much. You need to
Yeah.
break it down to like three. I'm sorry. It's just a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Mine are
So
more characteristics that are
okay.
a must have in a partner, like
Okay.
ambitious,
Yeah.
honest and open. Fun is a one for me because I'm a
Hmm.
fun person. I have to have fun in my life. And that was something that is why one of my past relationships ended because I needed that
Gotcha.
fun. I needed that adventure that I was missing. What was the other one? Oh, like looking for the similar future, like family,
Yeah.
wants kids, things like that. Like those are all must haves. Like
Right.
I can't not have one of
No,
those.
those are good ones for sure. Like I said, those are good ones for sure, though. It's like sometimes, like you think about what people write and what they want and what they're thinking, and but those are all valid ones. I appreciate those because that's actually something that, yeah, and fun. How do you miss fun, by the way? How do you
Oh,
miss
so I'm a
fun?
fun person. Like
Were you
I
having
want to,
too much fun before this other person to realize you're not that fun after all? I mean, what the hell happened there? You
no,
know?
it's more like travel, adventure, try
Yeah.
new things, jump off cliffs. They don't have to jump off a cliff, but I would like somebody that would do new things with me. Go to
Gotcha.
Thailand, go try new things. They're not going to be just always sitting
I
on the
love that.
outskirts.
Yeah.
They want to get on the roller coaster. They want to
Yeah.
go on the freaking air balloon. Like I don't want to do that alone.
No, and you shouldn't. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You should not be able, but like, and that's those are all valid ones too. And I feel like just those little like things at the beginning, even like you said, the first 2 or 3 dates, you can probably assess that out pretty quickly with
Yeah.
someone by just their tone. And when you talk about that stuff, they're super excited to hear that with you and talk about their adventures and things like that as
Yeah.
well. That's probably what you need to start doing a little bit more as well. Like, and not
Yeah.
saying you personally, but for people out there, just kind of just putting, like, once again, just be honest about it. Just put it out there,
Yeah.
as long as it's in a communicative way. And it's not like you're actually saying these are hard lines for me or whatever it is, even though, not to say that they aren't, but people will always just be more open to being on that ride with you, let's just say,
Yep.
right? Like, I think like, for instance, my ex-wife, for instance, I think we were going out for about 3 or 4 months together, and she's like, I remember we were specifically on an airplane going to visit her dad from LA to the East Coast, and she looked at me before the plane top. She goes, "So what's your 5-year plan?" I go, "I don't know. I don't have a 5-year plan just yet. I don't know what you're talking about." She got so freaking pissed at me, Tia. She goes, "You don't have a 5-year plan? I can't beat what someone's." And all of a sudden I was like, "Why are you getting so angry?" She's like, "That's a big deal for me." But at the same time, though, I was like, I'm willing to explore that and learn. And because I never had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
think about
yeah.
that. So these are other
Yeah.
things too that you might be missing on, just to put it in the nicest way. It's that you have to give people a chance to maybe see if that they can step up as
For
well in
sure.
order to meet those criterias, because sometimes that's not on our radar at the time. Like, for instance,
Mm.
family, for instance, yes, I mean, getting older, we should kind of have that maybe in a sense, but
Yeah,
but
I date
but
older, so
okay, but for the younger generation, it's like that's not on their plan
mm,
right now. You have to be
yes.
able to say, it's not on my radar right now, but I would have that conversation with you if we get that far. But you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. And you have to kind of, hopefully it matches up somehow, some way.
Yeah,
But that's what I
that's
meant by
fine.
just hard. Because if you have hard like things that you want, sometimes people have to kind of work themselves into some of that stuff, which
Yeah.
I did, by the way. My 5-year plan, trust me, the day after that, I was like, huh,
Yeah.
I'll think about this. And I stepped up, and a year later, 10 years later, 17
Yeah.
years later, we were married for 17 years after that. So,
Yeah, and it's fine to do that. It's trying
mhm,
to fine to discuss those things. Like, oh, I want someone with a house. Oh, wait, I'm open to buying a
yeah,
house or something,
right.
whatever. Yeah, it's more of like I don't know, it varies. But where I'm at right now, I'm not super hard on those. Like, oh,
Okay.
like somebody who's adventurous that would maybe they haven't traveled, but they would like to,
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be they're already there. it could be like, oh yeah, I've wanted to travel. I just haven't had the time or
Right.
the
It's
right
all in the
person.
energy. It's all in the
Hmm.
energy and how you're getting, how you're receiving that for sure. So,
Yeah,
because like I said, no one wants to be down the road saying, but I thought you're like, yeah, now you're pissed off, or you're like, why did I even go this far on the relationship? Because once again, we've all done that in the past, and hopefully everyone grows enough to know exactly what they want and can read the signs better. That's why I feel like, it's funny. Somebody in their 20s was asking me a question the other day, and I went, yeah, I could give you the answer, but I think that you need to go through those life experiences in order to kind of find that out yourself. So whatever I can give you, when I give you this answer, it's not going to really match up for you right now because you don't have those experiences yet to really go through it yet. So
for
sometimes we
sure.
just have to go through that experience. That's
Yeah.
the only way you're going to gain the experience, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Kind of being open. I
Yeah.
would say one of my hardest ones is the ambitious. I feel like that one's a little bit hard for me to
Mm,
gauge
okay.
because I'm trying not to be too hard on them. Because what if I was in a corporate job and then I decided 2 years later that I wanted to do something? So that
Yeah.
one's a little bit harder to gauge. But in my mind, I think you're either born with it or you're not. And that's kind
I
of how,
I agree with that. And
yeah,
by the way, that's not, you're right on spot with that though. So
yeah,
don't ever let that one go, because there's ambition. You can be ambitious, but it shows in your work ethic. It
yeah.
shows in your discipline. It shows in that you're actually trying to go for what you want. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that you're ambitious and you just are sitting on the couch doing nothing on days that you feel like, yeah, maybe this is that day that you should actually be going out there doing something because you've sat on the couch for 10 days in a row doing nothing, that's a
Yeah.
different story. Because
Mhm.
ambitions, you can see the ambition in someone's soul. That's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. So don't let that one go.
Okay, good. Because I
Yeah.
was like, am I being too hard on
Yeah.
people?
No, you're not. Yeah. Yeah. You're not. So I've
'Cause
had someone, I dated people. I've had
yeah.
this one girl. She was a trust fund baby, had a lot of money,
Mm.
and we got along really well. We dated for like 3 or 4 years. And the day that she decided to do something, and because she had the money to open up this amazing store and do things that people would kill to do something like
Yeah,
this, right?
I just wish I had like 20,000 more dollars. So if
Right.
anybody wants to just
Right.
throw that my way, like,
But here's the thing though, even though she had it, she decided about 6 months later to shut it all down because she's like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. It
yeah,
threw me for a loop. And I went about a month ago, I can't date this person anymore because she
yeah.
put on herself. I just cannot. She's not, you have the money to do things that most people would kill for. And, but just
Me.
because you had it and you couldn't follow through, that broke us up. I said,
Yeah.
I can't date people who just don't have the ambition to follow through with something. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. So
Same.
big difference. Hmm.
Same. Because I
Yeah.
want to continually grow and continually strive for more.
Right.
I don't care where they're at. Honestly,
Exactly.
my last partner, he wasn't at the right, like, the super successful place. We actually met while we were both struggling, but then we bet both, like, we found our purpose, we kept going, we
Great.
broke through that together and like hit new levels of success and purpose, and it was awesome. So I didn't judge him that he wasn't there
Of
yet, but
course.
I
Right.
knew he was so ambitious and he had
And
past
and
success.
that's why it's different right there. See, because you
Yeah.
saw what he was doing, you saw his worth ethic or something that said this guy is ambitious, and I can see that he really wants what he wants, and so
Yeah.
that's a big difference. I mean, we've like you said, we've seen a lot of people running around doing lots of successful things, and what's the first thing you've heard from them? I fucking hate my job. This sucks. I don't want to
Yeah.
do this. And you're like, dude, like like it's so everybody's got something, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
See, I
Hmm.
think my 5 are good. I think my 5 are good. It's just,
I think your
gonna
five
take
are good too. Now
time.
that I'm talking, you got a good five. So scratch
Yeah,
that.
I
Keep those.
go back to the list and I'm like, wait, which, oh, they're missing one. Okay, this one could be a maybe. We'll see if he's like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty, those I've found over the years, like those are the sturdy, stable ones.
Right. I always say, hopefully people can step up in different ways. So, like
Yeah.
there's nothing better than someone surprising you when you're like, damn, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That's always a bonus for me.
Yeah.
And everybody can step up in different sort of ways. And this is once again going back to the yin and yang of a relationship, like whether a guy is dating a strong independent woman, or whether a woman's dating a guy who feels like he might have, and I say might have all the control. It's just that, everyone needs to learn how to step up because once again, they know their self-worth. You know what makes you whole. You know what you have to offer that relationship. And that's the thing that makes a relationship strong.
Yeah.
because you're never going to sway from that. And don't ever let anyone tell you anything differently, because the people who are afraid to show, oh my God, this person, they're doing this, this, and this, and I'm intimidated, or wherever the hell it is, and you're not showing your self-worth, you're going to lose. You're going to lose every time. The
Yeah.
other person's going to step on you, or they're just going to end up saying, look, I just can't be with this person anymore.
Yeah.
So
Don't put
you
them on a
choose.
pedestal.
Right.
That's not a good
I
place.
choose me all the time. I'd
Yep.
rather choose me every single time. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, I think this has been a great podcast episode. Do you have any last tips to share?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. You're freaking amazing. I love what you're doing, by the way. And guys, once again, just for you out there listening, learn, just be able to speak your voice, communicate well what you want. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want for, because first and foremost, like I said, what do you have to lose? Let's be
Yeah.
honest, especially at the beginning of the relationship. If you do it correctly and you communicate your wants and needs without trying to be pushy or overly, aggressive or anything like that, it'll come through with your true authentic self. And if
Mhm.
you can learn to keep your true authentic self, that by first and foremost always reads better than anything else across the board. And the other person will always read that energy from you. So just learn how
Yeah.
to communicate what you want, be your true authentic self, and know your worth.
Yeah. I lead with that. I
All
lead
the
with
time. I
some
do
of my
too.
crazy stuff that, you know, might scare
Yeah,
people off, and I'm okay with it if I scare people off, because I don't want to waste 3 dates even, and
totally.
then they know something about me that's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Now
Yeah,
I don't want to
thank
see you
you.
anymore."
See,
Might as
yeah,
well.
we'll get along just fine, Tia. That's something
Yeah.
I tell you. I go, what you see is what you get. I go, I have nothing to hide from
Yeah.
you. If you want to ask me something, ask me. I'm
Mhm.
a very honest, upfront person. It's just like I have nothing. I don't sway from anything. If it's a really deep question you want to know, I'll throw that out there too. And they're like, damn, I would never show. I'm like, well, that's me. Make your
Yeah.
choice.
It
So,
weeds
but
it out faster,
it sure
and you
does,
get to know
100%.
people. When you
And
lead
plus,
with that,
mhm,
it attracts the same likeness in the partner that
that's
you're
correct. Yeah.
talking with. They will
And
open up more.
And that's what I was going to say. It opens up the communication so much more, because they're seeing that you're putting your best foot forward, and I hope that they would reciprocate to do the same back to you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That one day that we were talking about, I asked him all the freaking hard questions, but it kind of just flowed that way. It wasn't like I was an
Okay.
interview plot
Yeah,
process, because I don't do that always on first dates. It just like kind of flowed, and he was really enjoying my deep questions, and he was like, "Hey, I really like your questions.
I like
Keep
that.
throwing them at me." And so
Okay.
I was, and
Is
it
this
was
the
like a really
non-sexual
good.
guy? The guy you're, I call him the non-sexual guy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I
I
know,
don't
I'm
know.
very
He might, he might,
sapiosexual.
he might turn you over in bed. I
Yeah.
think, you might give this guy another chance. I'm kind of rooting for this guy right about now.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
kinda like,
think about it. That's a rare thing. Like you went
Mhm.
deep with him and he was interested, first of all.
Yeah.
This guy seems like he's on board what you want. Now you might have to turn him out. You might just like give him one for free. See what happens, Tia. Just see you might be surprised. I'm telling you
Yeah.
might be like a freaking like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in bed.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Okay, I'll give him another
all right.
shot. We'll see.
I'm rooting for this dude. He's gonna crush it.
Okay, awesome. I'll let you know. But okay, where can people find you? So your podcast
Yeah, find me,
and
on social media. You can find me at Dating Intelligence. My podcast, Dating Intelligence, is on all platforms. Our
yeah.
YouTube is crushing it because people want to see who our guests are and they want to
Ooh,
as well. So also like on audio, everything's at Dating Intelligence. So just check it out. Website, everything.
awesome. Podcast and Instagram will be
Yeah.
linked in the bio. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Christopher.
You're
And I
very
hope you have
welcome.
a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Tia, for having me.
See ya.
See ya.